Hey, money makers, welcome to another episode of Taking Stock Live. I'm your host, Khalila Reynolds, bringing to you all the latest money news and telling you how it will affect you and your pocket. But as you know, taking stock is not only for the investors, it's also for the entrepreneurs, and the two are very much interconnected, as you are going to learn a bit more about tonight, because we have a company that is all about media monitoring and future IPO in the works. We've been hearing about it for a few years now, and we're going to learn more about this company from our guest, and you'll soon learn who that is. But before we tell you all about tonight's show, let me ask you to leave a comment in the chat. Let me know what part of Jamaica or what part of the world you're joining us from. And of course, come on, let's get this money. On this episode of Taking Stock, this woman-owned Jamaican company just pushed itself to the front of media technology. What is media monitoring and how can it benefit you? We'll learn more about this new platform from founder of DRT Communications, Danielle Terrelonge, and media monitoring manager Meckela McDowell. And the analysts weigh in on the latest market developments. ScotiaBank is doubling down on insurance. What does this mean for customers?
Here's What's Hot, brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
The Jamaica Stock Exchange has delisted the preference shares of Equity Line Mortgage. According to the JSC, the company breached multiple rules of the exchange. The Canadian mortgage lender was first suspended in June for the extended delay in publishing its financial statements. It was suspended a second time after it withdrew its annual report. The company has since announced its intention to wind up operations. Carib Cement says customers can expect to see more bags of cement on shelves this week. Carib had shut down production during the summer for its annual maintenance and expansion. However, in September, the company said it could not meet local demand. Some hardware stores resorted to limiting customers to 1 bag of cement per day. However, Carib Cement said its factory is back up and running, and they've implemented measures to have more in stock. Guyana's President Irfan Ali has announced a raft of benefits for Guyanese citizens. This includes a one-off payment of 200,000 Guyanese dollars to each household. That's about 151,000 JMD or $950 US. The government said it will rely primarily on data from Guyana Power and Light and Guyana Water to identify households. Renters would need to claim the grant separately. President Ali also said public servants will now earn at least $100,000 per month. Additionally, tuition at the University of Guyana will be free for all citizens starting January 25. Additionally, tuition at the University of Guyana will be free for all citizens starting January 2025. British scientists are asking people to dig up their old electronics to help prevent a looming copper shortage. Copper is one of the common materials used in sustainable energy projects. The United Kingdom wants to transition to a decarbonized electricity grid by 2030. However, experts say the demand for copper is outpacing its production. According to researchers, there are over 820 million unused or broken tech items in the UK alone. That's about 38,000 tons of copper, which is worth £266 million. Citizens are being asked to recycle their old cell phones, chargers, and other electronics.
What's Hot, brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
Are you thinking about taking out a loan, or did you already take out a loan and now you're struggling to repay? Sign up for my free webinar, The Real Cost of Debt, on October 28 to find out what questions you need to be asking your lender and what strategies you can use to manage your debt.
I had quite a number of debt from that master's program, and Khalila came to my organization, and through the tools that she gave us, I was able to set up my budget, organize my life, all my income streams, what my credit card debts are like, and how to manage that. And I was able to get out of debt by March the following year. So I took approximately 5 months.
The sign up link is in the description. Let's get this money.
Let's get this money.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Where's my thing? Okay, here we go. Welcome back, everybody. Let me see who is joining us, which part of the world, which part of the community you're from. Let me take your comments in the chat. Patrick says, your info is amazing. Thank you so much, Patrick. Much appreciated. Captain Parky is sending us, I don't even know what that emoji is supposed to be. Dwight is joining us from Spanish Town. We got Philly in the house. Hey, Roger. Nana Sands joining us from far, far away. We got Earl from Helsha in the building. Collins just saying good night to the money makers. And he is joining us from cool Mandeville. Kingston kind of cool this evening too. It has been raining over these parts. We have Sean saying good night. Glamour in touch from Portland. Who else is here? Christopher checking in from Kingston. Dwight still looking to see things get better. You know, nothing bad stays bad forever, Dwight. Things get better eventually. Philip says TCI and one-man crew there. How is it over in TCI? Philip, hope all things are good. And we have Damien, Sunshine City in the house. Hey, Damien, over in Portmore. So before I introduce our guest for this evening, let me tell you from now, next week's show is actually going to be pre-recorded because I'm going to be traveling. Atlanta peeps, link up. Anybody from Atlanta in the chat? Let me know in the chat. And if you guys want to do a little meetup, let me know as well. We can organize that because I'll be there from the 22nd, which is Tuesday, until I think Sunday is when I leave. Sunday is the 27th. So we have almost a week to link up, Atlanta peeps. Let me know in the chat if you want to catch up, if you want to do something, hang out for a little bit. So the show is going to be pre-recorded next week. And guess who our guest will be. This is a guest that we've been trying to get for some time now, and they finally agreed. And this is Juicy Patties. As you know, they've been expanding into the United States. They've opened up in Florida. They're opening up now in New York. And I'm telling you this now so that you can leave your comments in the chat for Juicy when I do that interview later this week. And then it's going to air next week. All right. Coming to tonight's mode of business, who do we have? None other than DRT Communications, my girl, Danielle Terrelonge. As you know, DRT is after, or maybe you don't know, because this is a behind the scenes kind of company. They're often working diligently behind the scenes to get good press for their clients. And usually they're making things happen for other companies. But now they're in the news themselves with their brand new media monitoring technology. So here to tell us all about it is founder of DRT Communications, Danielle Terrelonge, and media monitoring manager, Meckela McDowell. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you so much for having us, Kelly. It always is a pleasure to be on with you.
Cheers, Danielle.
Cheers, because we get this money.
Yes, we're twinning with our Let's Get This Money cups. All right, so let me start with you, Danielle, because I've been hearing you talk about this media monitoring technology for probably about 4 years now. I think pre-COVID, so probably about 5 years now at least. Tell us what it is.
Sure. So our media monitoring technology actually started in 2015, and it was birthed out of a need for communications and marketing professionals who are constantly doing the great work that you see that we do even at DRT, and so many marketing agencies, directors of marketing, all the work we do, all the press releases we send out, what we're really doing, our system is listening, not just in Jamaica, not just in the Caribbean, but even globally, we're able to do that. It is listening to TVJ in Jamaica, TV6 in Trinidad for all our Trinidadians on tonight, and it can even listen to CNN or Al Jazeera. It is looking at press clippings, radio, social media, and online, And let's just take a company, for example, the Jamaica Public Service was with us today at our launch, and they have keywords and phrases. And every single time that a keyword or phrase that they have chosen, Jamaica Public Service, JPS, Hurricane Beryl, lights gone, anything that comes up that across any media channel, our system picks it up, aggregates it, and sends them a report. And we do this in real time. And we've been doing this since 2015. And what we launched today was even more exciting technology and better technology. And we're so excited about it.
Okay, I need to hear this because so far I'm thinking, how is this different from Google Alerts?
Oh, it is absolutely 100% not even, I call it Google Alerts on crack. And maybe that's not a particularly professional way of saying it. But Google Alerts is not giving you the analytics that we are able to give you. It is not able to give you the media intelligence that marketing communications professionals need. We hear from our communications directors and our CEOs that they take our reports. Our alerts don't just give you an alert. It gives you the sentiment attached to it. So if somebody tweets right now, I love Kalila Reynolds, I love Money Media, our system is going to say, that's fantastic. That's a good sentiment. And you aggregate, all press clippings, all media clippings around major brands. And then they're able to see cumulatively across all media channels, what are they showing up with? Positive sentiment, neutral sentiment, negative sentiment. We're also able to look at this in a comprehensive way. So a Google alert will just give you an alert, an email, but does it tell you, how are you performing in radio? How are you performing in television? Who's talking about you? Who's talking about you in X? And also, it's important to realize that the real-time capability of this service, right? So as communications professionals, I said it today, we have all gotten the call that our brand or the brand of one of our clients was mentioned on television or on your show. We are able to track in real time, get that clip and deliver it to our client in real time. And our new technology even allows our clients to have access to their own portal, which I'll allow Meckela to speak to in a second because she speaks more to the tech. But this is much bigger than any Google alert. We have invested a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort into giving clients the analysis, the analytics that they need to monitor all their marketing and communications efforts.
So having said all that, I want to see how it works. I don't know if you guys came prepared to do a demo, but Meckela, maybe you have a little time to find it and do a screen share. But in the meantime, I want to take a step back and find out, Danielle, how did you get here? So tell us the DRT story.
Sure, no problem. And I do hope, Meckela, you can go right ahead and bring up the system and tell me if it's possible. I'm sure it's possible. And we'll actually just, if it's possible to screen share, we'll do a live demo and show you something that maybe just aired on TVJ 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago, just as an example.
Perfect. Yes, you can screen share. So just try to see if you can do that behind the scenes while Danielle tells us DRT's story. I didn't come prepared for that. I know you didn't come prepared for that. I just dropped that on you in the middle of the show. But
something that's perfect. That's perfect because that is actually the life of a marketing professional, the life of a CEO. And Meckela is not new to having to move in the moment. So as long as the technology works, we'll be able to do it. So the story of DRT is I started this business in 2008 as a PR practitioner out of my bedroom, really. Media monitoring came later on. Red Bull, who I worked with at the time, they were my client. And they would go to Austria, where Red Bull is situated, and see all of these fantastic reports coming out of the US or Europe, for example. And they would be able to say everything that had happened on USA Today or the New York Times and have these fancy reports. Whereas we in the Caribbean and Latin America, we could only cut out the newspaper or maybe hope to have watched TVJ and taken a screen recording if we were so lucky. The measurement of the work we were doing in public relations, the measurement of the work that we were doing in marketing was so important to a global brand. And then as I did my research, I realized, hang on, This is important to brands globally. This will be important to all our banks, all our telecoms, all large entities, all medium-sized entities. You know, we did an IPO recently. We did it with you, and we were able to, as soon as you said IPO alert, our client got that alert. They knew we were live, right? And then, of course, all other media caught up. We were able to see immediately which brokerage houses said this was a good buy, which said was not a good buy. This was, you know, impactful technology that hit because of an idea that was placed in me by Red Bull to say, hey, we want to go to Austria with the same level of technology. And they actually challenged me. They said, Danielle, you bring that technology to the Caribbean and to Latin America, and we'll be your client. And actually they were for quite some time.
I have a comment on IG. Somebody on Instagram says, don't talk too loud. Google may want to buy you out.
Well, you know, I'm just saying, whoever said that, let's just take it as a prophetic word. We are there for it. The thing about what we've done, so whilst we launched this service in 2015, what we have done now with the support of the Development Bank of Jamaica is that we have built our own system. We have customized it, tailored it. It speaks AI, it speaks in different languages. We're able to monitor and measure in different languages, different jurisdictions as it becomes important. So you take many of our Jamaican companies as an example, who are operating in Ghana, who are operating in Barbados or Trinidad, or I heard somebody was in Turks and Caicos earlier. And our system is able to see who's talking about Grace Tomato Ketchup, because those are export products and they're going to hear about it. They're not just going to hear about it on Twitter tracking or a hashtag. They're able to hear about it across all media channels. And that's what's groundbreaking, because we built this technology, we customized it, we trained our whole team up, and we offer amazing, amazing services, which we launched off today. The other really great thing, and I hope Meckela is able to be ready shortly just to show everyone, is that I'm talking about news and media mentions, but we also have our advertising portal, where right now I could tell you how much money has been spent by any company across any industry right now, year to date. I could
In
come
Jamaica?
up right away. I could tell you right now how much was spent in press, how much was spent in radio, how many
Really?
placements. I could tell you across the financial sector, for example, you know, X company spent this, or X company spent this in radio versus press. I can give you that data. And what it does is it guides and gives our clients a competitive look
I
at
want that data.
what's happening in the landscape. Well, actually, we have
But
some.
isn't that private information? Like, they don't publish that anywhere. So how would you?
No, it's not
get that?
published, but our systems are monitoring all of the advertising that's placed, all of the mentions, all of the newscasts. Our systems are monitoring that, and then we see the ad. Our system sees the ad and aggregates and sees how many times that ad places, and sees it in press and how many times it's placed. And then our system aggregates it and calculates it. So I can tell you in the telecoms who is outspending who
So
is
you can
spending
figure
more in
that out.
TV, etc. And that's what makes it super magical, because you bring all of that into good analytics. It's phenomenal, and it helps to guide strategy. We say at DRT, we're not here to just provide a service. We're actually empowering our clients with data to make strategic decisions.
We have to talk after the show. I need some data. But first, let's bring in Meckela. All right, Meckela, were you able to get the demo up? Were you able to bring something up for us?
Yeah.
Yes, I was. I'm ready to go. Are you able to
tell us,
see my screen?
yes, tell us
So
what we're looking at.
let's play a game here. Like, somebody in the audience, if you could just name a brand, any brand that you know is in Jamaica right now, or you choose a brand.
A company name or a brand? So like a product from a company.
A company name is great.
Wisynco.
All right, let's see what showed up for Wisynco in the news recently.
All right. If I can see it in this limited view, I will log in via another option. One moment, please.
All right. Well, in the meantime, as we're doing that, because she'll come right back on with it. So we chose with Cinco. We could have chose. Okay, there we go. So
Here we
right
are.
now, yeah.
So when we upgraded our technology, we wanted to give our clients deeper insights, advanced analytics, and of course, increase user capabilities. And as part of that initiative, we developed our own portal that they can log into, access the media mentions, and interpret them. The portal here is not just a generic solution that you can find elsewhere. When you log in, you'll be able to see a list of keywords that you would have submitted to us. These can be terms or persons or events or campaigns that you may want to track. And just as how you suggested with Synco just now, we can add that term to our system. Once we do that, you're able to see results for the same. And not only that, you're able to add different labels, which are called tags, to the results, and that helps with organizing them. As you can see, the results come from different sources in terms of the types and the origin. Daniel shared that we track results from social media, online news platforms, the newspapers, and also television and radio, of course. We monitor and track in real time. As you can see, this Instagram image was posted today around 1:35 p.m. And so if there's something that's more recent, then we would be able to see a more recent clip because we are actually monitoring in real time. Let me choose another example and see if I can see something that's more recent. Not right now, but you get the gist. We also have a wide range of filters that you can use to view the different results. Good. Here, as you can see for Scotiabank, this is a clip that our system pulled just 8:16 p.m. That was just a few minutes ago. And in addition to that clip, we have a certain number of results from social media and so on. The other filters I was talking about include that for the markets. We have the capability to monitor different sources internationally.
Hold
We
on, before you continue. So you pulled that clip from TVJ News, which was just a few minutes ago. Uh, is that because the news is streamed on live, on the internet, or do you also pull stuff from radio, which you might not hear when somebody mentions something on the radio? If you missed it, you missed it, and there's no rebroadcast, for example.
No,
right.
we get it live from the stream from, so TVJ News just aired on TVJ News, whether you watched it on cable, whether you watched it online, we are picking up the stream, the broadcast, if you will, from everywhere so that there's no missing. There's no missing any results. So that would have aired on, I guess, primetime news just recently.
So there doesn't have to be text. It listens and hears when the keyword is
Listening.
mentioned.
And
Right.
I'll jump in on Meckela here. It's also seeing. So if a logo, our new technology, allows for image recognition, including logo recognition.
Wow.
So for example, taking stock, if they were in our system, your logo is in our system, but you said nothing. You didn't say taking stock. We would be able to pick you up as well. Go ahead, Meckela.
As you can see, you are able to follow in the transcript for this keyword, and the video is also available in addition to the audio.
Winning reggae artist Roger Banton made an impressive return to Canada over the weekend.
The clips for radio are similar, but of course, this time around you won't have a visual.
Yes, is coming to you from Love 101 FM, the family station, and the time is now 5:14 p.m.
When it comes on to mentions from other sources, you are
So
able
it clips that audio or that video
right.
and puts it in your account that you can
So
access online.
exactly.
How the
And it's
system
aggregated.
how the system actually works is with speech to text translations. So when we have a keyword and we include it in our system, some sort of transcription happens along the way, and so our system is able to pull it in by transcribing that specific keyword. And as a part of our upgrade, we enhance our local speech recognition. So in the instance where somebody pronounces something with an accent or just in Creole, we're also capable of picking that up. So once it was said and we're tracking that source, it will be consolidated on this particular platform and you will have access to it. That's
very, very interesting
right.
and very cool. I'm seeing lots of comments here saying, Kemoy says, oh, wow, which was my reaction as well. I was like, what? This is, I love what you guys are doing. So we have some questions from the audience. Sean wants to know, is this retail? Can anyone create an account? And adding, do you guys have packages for individuals, or is it on the B2B at this point?
No, it is B2 anyone, I would have to say at this point. The thing is, the beautiful thing about our new technology, and I'll answer Sean directly. Sean, you could be an influencer. You could be, somebody who's building your own brand and want to always be able to track wherever you are mentioned. So absolutely, we would have packages for you. Kalila, one of the things that we have done recently, and this was really possible through the DBJ funding, is that we were able to actually productize our packages a lot more clearly. And so we have, the large companies, but we're also able to have, more tiered products, more tiered services. So, an SME who is interested. So someone gave me the example this evening of restaurateurs. They want to, South Avenue Grill may want to be looking at what Susie's Bakery is doing, maybe wanting to look at what's happening at Prendy's. Who are they competing with in this space? Who's getting more mentions on X? Who's getting TVJ coverage? Who is getting, YouTube coverage? That type of thing. So you put everybody in a category and you're able to look at your competitive landscape. Also, of course, you have the larger financial institutions or the telecoms companies, and then everyone in between. One of the packages that we think is so important, and our goal, is that every single company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, whether that be the junior exchange or the main exchange, your reputation is your greatest asset, right? You've just gone public, or you've been public for a while. You have to deliver these quarterly results. What are people saying about you every quarter? We absolutely believe that every single company listed on the stock exchange here and all other stock exchanges needs to have an account with us. And even if that's just a part of, we have a very special product for companies like that. So B2C, B2 retail, Sean, we got you. If I just have a feeling you have a big brand going on there, and we're ready to support you.
Well, I soon ask about pricing because people want to know. But first, more questions from the audience. There's lots of interest. Philip wants to know, how does the media mention data transfer to leads and further to customer sales? Are you able to track that?
Absolutely. So, Philip, you always ask the most fantastic questions. And on this side of things, I want to say thank you for being so supportive of many of the IPOs that I've been a part of. I consider you one of my journalists. So this is my opportunity to tell you thank you. If you could put back up the question again, because I always get sidetracked by Philip. The media mentioned data transferring to leads and customizing were really huge on strategic decisions, right? So if you as a company, let's just say a telecoms company, launches a campaign and you are offering, new telephones with this service for $5,000 as an example, and your competitor launches a similar product, you're able to see immediately, how is this new media campaign that we have put out against our competitors' campaign? How are our sales tracking against that? Because we're all doing the marketing, but are you tracking it? One of the things, Philip, that I think is so important, and I use this example today at our launch. As many marketing directors and marketing managers do, we go and we tell our CFO we're spending $25 million at Sumfest. And next year we go back and we say, we need 35 million. The CFO says, oh no, but you now have the data to back that when you spent $25 million sponsoring Sumfest last year, you got $41 million in ROI because of your media mentions, your online return on investment. We are able to actually quantify that in analytics, in analysis, for you to actually stand in front of your board of directors. We heard Winsome Callum say today that she said it with pride, so I know I can repeat it, that her communications report coming out of JPS goes to the board And it actually gives credibility to the work of the communications and marketing team at JPS, because there's an intangible and a tangible part to the marketing, but most of the time we're not measuring it. We're not adding the quantitative and the qualitative analysis. And this is what our system does on your behalf. It gives you that sentiment, your reach. And all of these things, of course, Philip, as you know, will drive sales. It will drive your strategy, your strategic decisions, right? It is able to give you your total impressions across all media channels. And that's really what makes it totally fantastic.
And that's exactly the struggle that a lot of marketing managers have, the pain point that they have, which I'm sure you're well aware of, that they have to report to the board and try to figure out how does this translate to sales. And there's no real way to track the effectiveness of what they're doing. But now you have introduced this solution. So
and you have data to back it up. That's the most important thing. You stand before your board and you say, I have the data to back up my budget increase. Thank you very much, sir.
Perfect. Garvin wants to know, what if people refer to a company by different names other than the formal name?
Meckela, go with that.
Right, if I can chime in here. One of the benefits of using our services is understanding that you're not getting a tool, you're getting a service, and the technology, the equipment, the software, it's complemented by media monitoring officers. So that means that we take into consideration things like the cultural nuances and the context in which certain things are mentioned. So if we know that there is a company that has a formal name, we will also include another name that the company is normally mentioned as. And as we're monitoring, if we see that there's a slang that has emerged or a particular way that the consumers tend to refer to it, then of course we'll integrate that into our tracking. When it comes on to sentiment, we have to employ a similar approach because, you know, as Jamaicans, sometimes they may say, oh, the juice the body, but they actually mean that the drink is good, they enjoy it. So we, in turn, somebody says juicy beef versus juicy patties, that's a good example. We, in turn, take those things into consideration and just ensure that we're doing comprehensive monitoring for your brand or your keywords.
Right. So we have, man, the conversation is getting juicy over here. As you mentioned, juicy patties and juicy beef. Let me find back. Oh, where are the comments? Where did they go? All right, let me find it back. There's one in particular that I wanted to highlight. Where did it go? Here it is. Lori wants to know, how does your tool pull that data, and what are the legal implications for mining this data?
Absolutely, Laurie. Thank you for asking that question. So we do not rebroadcast of anything. We actually have stipulations within our contracts that nothing that we pull is for rebroadcast, right? We absolutely adhere to the broadcasting guidelines of Jamaica and any other territory that we are in. You have to understand that this is media that has already been offered to the world. You've already seen it on TVG. What our system is doing is actually aggregating it and turning it into analysis, turning it into data that you can use. You need to understand media monitoring is used globally. Today, I gave examples of Starbucks using media monitoring for some of their public advocacy programs. We see Nike using it. There is probably not a global brand that you can think of right now. We know for sure right now, we know this as a fact, that the US presidential election they are using for their whole campaign, pre-election and during the election period, they're using media monitoring, the communications team, to react and be able to respond and change strategy. Both candidates are using this service to be able to change strategy based on voter sentiment, based on how the voters are speaking, based on how news houses are broadcasting about them. That this is used globally. As I said, this came to me from Red Bull that was using the service globally, but it just wasn't available in the Caribbean. And we said, then we're going to do something different and we're going to do something extraordinary for the Caribbean.
Next question is follow-up coming from Philip, again with the tough questions. Philip wants to know, how do you ensure data security? Are you DPA compliant?
Thank you so much for that, Philip. We are actually, we have to acknowledge our team members, because the team members are who make DRT strong. So we are actually in the process of building we have a DPO in our offices. We are working with a company, 876 Solutions, who are working with us to create our DPA framework, and we are absolutely adhering to the Act. So thank you for that question, and I'm so glad that I could answer that with confidence. As with every Jamaican company right now, this is all new, so we have had to switch systems. We do not do business in WhatsApp, as an example. We do not discuss client details in WhatsApp because that is not DPA compliant. We just learned that a couple months ago. So we do actually have a designated DPO, and we are in constant contact with the OIC presently.
Oh, I did not know that either. I thought because WhatsApp they always say it's end-to-end encrypted. So
no, we learned that. We're like, okay, so everybody, we're going to Slack. So all business and client communications now happens in Slack.
wow. Okay. Sean wants to know.
Sorry, go ahead.
How far back does the data go?
Meckela?
Currently, we work with a 1-year archive. And so if you'd want something like a period over period analysis for a particular metric, we're capable of providing that.
1 year. Okay. Shells has a suggestion. She thinks that this would be good to pull the data for stocks in your own portfolio, block out the noise, and no need to go to 10 plus websites. Just go to one place and see what they're saying about the stocks that you're interested in.
That is actually a really great idea, Shells, and something that we'll think about. One of the things that we are doing right now, in order to just keep active, is that we are generating industry-specific and topic-specific reports. One of the things we did not so recently, but we wanted to understand, Crime Stop is a big client of ours, and so we actually did a paper, if you will, on how crime was being reported on in Jamaica. So we did a case study looking at how the media and how the Jamaican people were speaking about crime and the different types of crime, things that are topical. So you can look out for industry specific or topic specific. Now you've given us an idea, Shell. So maybe that will be one of our kind of free downloads so that people get acquainted and get to use our data and actually take them into their organization. Shells, I hope, and Philip and everybody who's working with organizations, I hope you're going to go into work tomorrow and say, listen, this is a powerful tool that we can all benefit from. All organizations, small, medium, and large, we have a product and a service for you.
So I see some people in the comments who seem to be sold, but we need to know the price. So how much does this cost, Danielle?
Well, the thing is, because all of our packages are tailor-made, you have, extremely large customers and smaller customers. So the kind of thing that we like to do is speak to our business development officer, speak to me. You can find me on Instagram or YouTube or, all of us, Danielle at DRT Communications, info@drtcommunications.com. And we're actually ready to tailor our packages straight for you. We have our packages, but what we're going to say to you is, hey, what's important for you? Is sentiment more important? Do you want advertising monitoring, news mention? Do you just want social media? Because some people are saying we don't do much there, and our industry doesn't speak much in the traditional media space at this time. We'd like to just monitor our social at this time, what's happening across our landscape. So we have something specific for you there. And it's really important that we see that this is for businesses to predominantly to use this data to make strategic decisions around their sales, their marketing, their distribution, and even their supply. And as I said, publicly listed companies, we see government entities. Some of our clients are government entities that want to know what are their regulators saying right now as they go for a tariff increase or a price increase. What is happening right now. So there's so many uses of this product.
Politics.
Service and politics.
Elections coming up. What is public sentiment saying?
What is the public sentiment? I know that is one of the reports that our team is working on. We had the beautiful benefit today of having Senator the Honorable Aubin Hill speak to us today about what is happening in Jamaica. How is Jamaica growing? And I actually wrote a note in my phone that I want us to do a report on how people feel about growth prospects in Jamaica. We see a lot coming out of our ministers and our debt to GDP, dropping from 147 to wherever it's at now, much lower than it was. I think it's almost half. These are the conversations that are important to people, but these are the conversations that are also guiding businesses to make the strategic decisions. National policy, companies are interested in that right now. So it's really important for companies to keep abreast, if you will, of what's happening at the national policy level, their brands, and also their competitive space.
So on pricing, where does it start for, say, a retail investor? Like what's the minimum?
Our products go anywhere from $600. I mean, kind of backing me up here because, as I said, most everything is customized. But
Right.
our products start at anywhere between $600, and we have clients that
That's US dollars?
Sorry, yes, my apologies to you. $600. And we have clients that go much bigger than that because they are monitoring a much larger landscape. They may be monitoring the region, or they may just be monitoring Jamaica. It really varies. They may have 100 keywords because you may have a large group, a conglomerate, if you will, that has. We have one conglomerate that has 17 subsidiaries, and there are keywords for each of those subsidiaries. So they have about 100 keywords. Our reporting for that gets very, very specific. We may have executives who only want a specific type of report. And then we have the marketing team that wants their reports. Everything is customized. What's happening here is that this tool is giving people the power. We are empowering people to make strategic decisions. And by people, I mean mid to upper management and boards of directors to make strategic decisions for their companies and their brands.
And I imagine that's like a monthly subscription?
Yes. Generally speaking, we go by month. Once in a blue moon, which is really great for us, and this happened to us recently, we had an agency out of, I believe it was Mexico, that was operating, they had a brand that wanted to come into Jamaica, and they asked in the beverage industry, and they asked us for a beverage industry, non-alcoholic beverage industry report. And so that is what we would call a one-off report. And that they wanted, Meckela can remind me, I think they wanted to go back 3 months and look at what the advertising and the news outcome was for the non-alcoholic beverage industry. So that would be a one-off report. As I said, everything is totally customized because of clients' needs are so specific. Their campaigns, their competitors' campaigns will be totally different.
GD on Instagram says, this may be one of the most interesting companies I've ever seen on Taking Stock.
Wow. GD, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We have been at this for quite some time. And in the preamble, Kalila, Sashal had said to me, your producer had said, there are many entrepreneurs on this show. And this is just my way of saying to entrepreneurs, innovation is key. We heard it from the senator today. Innovation. What we have is some extremely smart people in Jamaica. I just get blessed to work with 19 of them, right? And I have somebody like Meckela who started in my company as an intern and is now a manager, right? I keep teasing her that she's actually my successor, but she hasn't taken me on with it yet. But we have an opportunity. This company, I'd like to speak to every entrepreneur here. This company started in my bedroom 16 years ago, and we are where we are today, where we were able to attract a 20 million Jamaican dollar grant, technology grant for a woman-led company, right? This is funded by the IADB and the EU. And we were able to get that grant a year ago, build our technology and refine it. And we are sitting here today at the cusp of offering these services to the Caribbean. And I may not look as, I know I look quite young right now, but the thing is, we've been at this for a while. And I want to say to every entrepreneur, keep going, keep innovating, keep building, keep refining, keep finding opportunities because they are out there.
Round of applause for DRT, woman-owned, Jamaican-owned brand. Love to see the progress. Sean says, I'm itching to get my hands on this. And he says, please, please, please tell me you guys are developing an API service for developers.
Meckela, that one is over to you. I'm not quite
That's
sure what that
something
means.
we will definitely consider because we're always innovating. What I can say is that we do integrate API services into our monitoring. Let's start, Sean. Email us info@drtcommunications.com.
Yes.
And info@drtcommunications.com. Good, because people were asking for your contact information earlier. Patricia, who I know is also in our industry as a marketer, veteran marketer, says, looking forward to more tiered products, especially for solopreneurs. Roswell says, for real, I find this company to be very interesting. So now let me ask you the question I always ask our entrepreneurs, Danielle, and I have heard you mention these three letters before in relation to DRT. So when's the IPO?
That is the million-dollar question. I will admit it is something that we have thought about, and we have looked at many different opportunities for growth, for capital injection. Right now we are just in building mode. We have launched this technology. We have gotten grant funding. I'm not saying no to an IPO in the future. My ears tickle every time somebody suggests it to me. So why not? There's so many ways of, there's private equity, there's an IPO. There's so many ways that we can go ahead. And all I would have to say to you is stay tuned and ensure that you are a part of the building of DRT Communications by being one of our clients and being a big supporter of a woman-led organization run with two other female managers. I will say a board of 3 out of 5 females. This is a time for growth for us, and I think I'm skirting the topic, but stay tuned.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Danielle. Thank you, Meckela, for giving us that great demo and telling us all about your business and this brand new media monitoring technology that's about to change the game for how marketing is done in Jamaica. Not only done, but measured.
And monitored.
And monitored, right. Because what gets measured gets managed. What gets monitored gets bigger budgets.
If you measure it, you can improve on how you manage it.
Exactly.
That's exactly the way to put it. Another thing, Khalid, I just want to say, I know you're closing out, is the reason why I skirt around the IPO thing is because DRT actually manages so many of the IPOs that comes to our stock exchange. We manage the communications around it. We manage the monitoring around it. So right now we're actually focused on future IPOs that are coming to market. So we're pretty excited about that and have our focus there. So that's where I would say to everybody, stand by, because the truth is there's a lot happening in Jamaica right now. There's a lot of promise happening in Jamaica right now. So as Khalila would say, let's get this money.
Any on your plate for this year? The rest of this year?
Can't say. I have confidentiality agreements, maybe.
Maybe. All right, fine. I'll take it. Thank you guys so much. And all the best. I hope you get 1 million calls after tonight.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And thank you for having us on. And thank you for always being a great supporter of us, Khalila.
Every time. You know it. DRT Communications and their brand new media monitoring technology. About to be a game changer, not just for Jamaica, for the entire Caribbean and even Latin America as well, because she said it can use multiple languages. So this could be a global thing. We know that the technology exists already. The application is where the difference lies. So very interesting days ahead. It's now time for our poll question. And this debate has been hot over on Instagram and TikTok. My Instagram and my TikTok in particular, people debating in the comments. So let me ask it here. Let me see what you guys think. Do you think the Emancipation and Independence Day holidays should be combined into one long weekend? We heard the PSOJ make that proposal. There are many for, there are many against. Let me know what you think. Yes, better for productivity. No, the days have significance. That's A and B. C, have a week-long holiday instead. D, I don't care. Or E, other. And you can just leave a comment and let me know what you think. You can take that poll over on Twitter or on the community channel, the community tab of this YouTube channel, or you can just leave your comment in the chat. Up next, we've got your market recap, and the analysts are standing by. Time now for your market recap. The JSE Combined Index lost just over 1,000 points last week. 122 stocks traded across the main and junior markets for the week ending Friday, October 11, 2024. 49 made gains, 63 lost value, and 10 stayed the same. 77 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, valued at $482 million. Fesco was the week's most traded stock, with 16 million shares changing hands. The stock lost 15 cents to open the week at $3.62. Trans-Jamaica traded the second highest volume. The stock's price was unchanged at $3.25. And stationery and office supplies rounded out last week's most traded. It started the week at $1.60. Now let's see who had the biggest gains. Elite Diagnostic was the market's top gainer, up almost 29%. Margaritaville Turks USD had the second biggest gain, up 25%, and Pulse rounded out the top stocks, up 13.5%. On the losing side now, Cygnus Real Estate Finance USD was the week's biggest loser. The stock was down 24% to open Monday at 6 cents US, while T-Tech lost almost 18%, and 138 Student Living Variable Preference lost 15%. Over on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the composite index fell 1% last week. First Caribbean was the TTSC's most traded stock. It was also the biggest gainer, up nearly 4% to start the week at $7.05 TT. And on the losing side, LJ Williams fell 15% to open Monday at $1.56 TT. Over in the U.S., the Dow Jones, S&P 500, and NASDAQ were all up about 1% last week. At the pumps, gas prices in Jamaica climbed $2.94 last week, while diesel prices jumped $3.06. In foreign exchange, it took an average $159.16 Jamaican to purchase $1 last Friday. That's 27 cents more than the week before. Meanwhile, it took an average $116.55 Jamaican to purchase $1 Canadian. 1 British pound cost on average $208.25 Jamaican. And finally, you could buy €1 for $174.20 Jamaican on average. Finally, on the crypto markets, Bitcoin prices were up 4% over the past 5 days, trading at $63,126 US on Monday, while Ethereum prices were up 3%, trading at $2,442 US on Monday. Not long ago, I asked how many of you would be willing to pay to watch Taking Stock. And a lot of you responded that you would pay, but some of you begged me to keep it free. And I get it. Everyone goes through financial challenges, and I want as many people to access this information as possible. So I've decided to give you the option to make a donation and help to keep Taking Stock free. Support us at patreon.com/Kalila Ray. The link is in the description.
Disclaimer. This is not intended as financial advice. Please consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions. This segment of Taking Stock, The Analyst, is brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Before I introduce our analyst panel for this week, let me shout out our Patreon subscribers. We have a few of you who took up the mantle last week and decided to make a donation. So let me big you up right now and tell you who they are. So name and big up this segment name. Norval Tennant, Money Major. Richard Cole, Money General. Anicia McFarlane, Money General. Garvin Grandison, Money Sergeant. Nicholas Samuels, Money General. Sebastian Perry, Money Sergeant. And Nikki's Hair Care, Money Sergeant. So those are our Patreon subscribers. Thank you guys so much for taking up the mantle, taking up the call, answering the call, and making a donation to ensuring that this production can continue every Tuesday night as we have been doing for the past 5 years. Now, before we get into the analysts as well, I think I want to take a couple more comments. So Sean has responded to the poll question. Sean, I love how active you are this evening in the chat. Sean says they want to remove Emancipation Day for us to go to work. It's so ironic because it's literally celebrating the abolition of slavery and they want us back in the office slaving away at work. But Sean, the proposal isn't to remove Emancipation Day, it's just to celebrate it on a different day. So you'd celebrate it on the Friday and then celebrate independence on the Monday. You still get your holiday. So you wouldn't be technically slaving away at work. Maybe on the exact day, the August 1st, but you still get your holiday regardless. Let's see, Shells says, since Jamaicans like to pretend to be Americans, Americans would never consider changing their Independence Day celebration. And Captain Parkey says, leave it as is. All right. Thank you for your feedback. Duly noted. You guys can still take the poll on Twitter or on the community tab of YouTube. Time now to introduce our analyst panel. Joining us for the segment tonight is Corporate Manager of Group Client Portfolio and Investment Strategy at JMMB, Leovani Dillon, and business writer at the Jamaica Observer, David Rose. Welcome back, guys.
Good night, Kalila.
Is that a promotion, Leo? That title sounds longer than I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, we discussed this before. Yes, it's a little bit longer now. Yeah.
I didn't remember. Okay. Well, congratulations on your promotion. Well deserved. All right. So, Leo, we're going to start with you. And this is a conversation that we've been meaning to have for weeks now, and we keep having to push it back and reschedule this conversation. We're talking about interest rates. They have been falling. We've seen 2 consecutive rate decreases by the BOJ and more anticipated as we head into 2025. Do you need to change your investing approach now? What do we do now?
Yes. So as it is, of course, as we know, the local stock market on a whole, if you look on the indices, so of course, like the main market, combined market, they haven't been doing so well for the last few years. Part of that, of course, has to do with the higher interest rate environment. There's other things. I mean, some of the fundamentals of some of the companies, again, as a consequence of the higher interest rate environment, hasn't been the best. So that has, put a damper on things in the market. Now, of course, if you go back a bit, you'll see where before all of this, you go back a little bit before COVID time, you would have seen where the market, so about March, I think the market peaked around August 2019, right? You would have seen about 5 years of very strong performance in the market. Now, part of the underlying drive of that, of course, was a low interest rate environment that propelled things forward in terms of companies' earnings and all of that. Now, again, the reverse is playing out, meaning when you got the rates going up, COVID created a shock to the market. Rates going up, higher inflation levels kind of triggered that also. We saw that put a significant damper on the market. Of course, you have valuations and earnings for these companies and multiples in the markets high coming out up to about August 2019. And then, of course, when you had this COVID shock slowdown in the market overall, then you see that pullback there. Now, we've been in the doldrums for a while in the market. Now, we're getting the interest rate cuts. Now, of course, we're in the early innings of it. About 50 basis points coming out of the BOJ locally. So you have 50 basis points from the Fed in the US. But the trick is, as we know, when it comes to investing, you're not really you're looking at where things are now, yes, but also the more important thing is where things are going to head, right? So you want to be ahead of the curve. So as it is, in general, when these rates come down, that is when you want to reposition yourself now into, of course, you can, there's other asset classes, in terms of how you position yourself in fixed income, but specifically, today we're talking about like the equities. You want to position yourself in equities broadly. Now, of course, there's specific names that could outperform, which would, of course, try and gravitate towards. But in general, that's what you want to do. So one of the ways that you can do that, of course, is that you can, for example, take advantage and buy into, like unit trust type products. So particularly those that could be like equity linked, right? So the underlying assets of that is, for example, equities. That way, especially if you're a small investor, you're building up, so you don't necessarily have that capital to diversify. Probably a young investor in the market. That's a better avenue. So you can get that diversification, you can get that exposure, and then of course when the market picks up now, then you benefit from that. Now again, I'm not saying that the market is going to pick up tomorrow or next week, but the idea is, of course, with equities, you're really investing with a longer term horizon, and you want to just diversify and you want to position yourself ahead of the curve. Because if you've looked historically at when the market moves higher, it does so very quickly when it moves higher. So the thing is, especially if you're a larger investor, definitely you want to start early. But even as a smaller investor, you really want to start building that position at these levels to take advantage of when rates are anticipated to continue to go lower. So
when you say the market tends to flip or change or improve very quickly, like how quickly is very quickly?
I mean, all right. So if you look on some of the historical performance that we got in the market, so for example, if you look going back in 2015, for argument's sake, the market in that year was up. The combined market was up about 102%. In 1 month in particular, in October 2015, the market was up like 36%, right? In just that 1 month, right? So the idea, and that's the market, remember, when you see the market moving like this, that means there's some key underlying names that are moving probably multiples of this in terms of like 50% plus. So the idea is when those kind of rapid movements occur, your ability to deploy, especially if you're a large, if you're a smaller investor, technically, but then you get into a chasing game, which you probably want to avoid. But those kind of movements, when they occur, you don't really want to be missing them, because what happens in general when you're investing in the market, and this is the reason why you have persons like a Warren Buffett and those more old school investors that have a longer investment horizon. In general, how the market operates, majority of their gains don't occur in a small span of time. So what happens is that basically, if you're not invested in certain key windows, the market will look like a very unattractive investment for you. So in general, what happens is that you just want to be long-term invested in terms of just over time. That's a general principle. However, right now, what we're looking at now is a key thing where we're seeing falling rates, which kind of increase the urgency of that investment decision. So before you be like, all right, I'm investing, but now that the rates are coming down, the urgency is kind of building. Because when rates were higher in the market, it's still a relatively high, but it's coming down, right? Your ability to pick up decent interest rates on fixed income papers or short-term instruments was there. But even if you're looking at like BOJ CD rates, that's significantly coming down. And then you're having more cash in the market. So basically, the conditions are setting up to provide a good environment for equities. Additionally, with equities, what happens, the dividend yields, for example, you're buying a stock now, dividend yield might be 5%, maybe you find some at 6%. Some like careers would be upwards of that, right? You would look on that yield and you say, all right, 7% or 6%, you can pick up a short-term instrument some time ago that could yield a higher. However, as interest rates go down, those rates start to look really good. Now, remember, when the rates coming down, the environment in general would bode well for these companies, meaning, you look at your NCBs or whatever, their ability to pay dividends or increase the rate actually gets better as interest rates go down because the company performs better. That being said, now, that yield that they used to have, that yield goes up. The price that you have it at, of course, you bought it in the past, so the price is the price. Then your yield that you're getting on your base price that you bought, that goes up. So what would happen, for example, you buy the stock now, for argument's sake, or a few weeks ago, you buy the stock and the yield on it might be 3-4%. Not necessarily that great, But as the dividend yield grows, and of course you stay invested, what happens is that that dividend yield based on your base cost can skyrocket now 6, 7%, 8%. And then that even gets more attractive when you compare it to the other investment that exists in a falling rate environment. So basically in a high interest rate environment, there's so many levels that pull equities higher. So whether it be higher valuations, whether it be the fact that equities become the better game in town because fixed income not yielding that much, so not that attractive, or whether it be that the company can refinance its debt at a lower rate, so that all else being equal, that's just more profitability. So in general, there's a lot of companies that benefit from this, and that is why you want to start taking and repositioning. So again, you can reposition with unit trust, you can reposition with direct investments. Again, talk to your wealth advisor so you can pick pick what option is best suited towards you as the investor.
It's a couple comments reacting to what you've been saying, Leo. Phil says, couldn't agree with you more. Get in now or you'll have to get in higher. Hey,
yeah.
How that go? And then Shells says that statement is the opposite of what everyone else, local and globally, is saying. They say it's a slow rise.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So if you look at what's happening now, yes. So as it is right now in the market, it's actually lower. As in a year to date, combined market is lower. But what I'm saying, I'm not saying that. Well, I mean, in essence, we're kind of agreeing depending on what time frame the viewer is speaking about. Because if we're talking about next week, if you're talking about next month, yes, it's gonna be relatively slow. If that's the time frame you're talking. But if you're looking out a year, 2 years, what's gonna happen is that as these rates come down, then it becomes more attractive. But what I'm saying, how the market tends to operate a lot of time, and you can look on the index movements in the past, it tends to consolidate for a while. And that consolidate, I mean, it might decline a little bit, go up a little bit, probably in the band of like 5-6% for a while. But then when it moves higher very aggressively. So what happens is that it's almost like a pressure pot, and it builds and then it moves higher. That's what I'm talking about. So the idea is that in a way, yes, there's a slow rise, a slow build, meaning as rates come down, because remember, the rate's not coming down aggressively, it's coming down slow. So it's not like every tick that the rates go down, the market's going to move higher that tick. So it's kind of like a pressure pot building, as in that the rate's coming down, you're not really seeing that movement, but it's building. The interest is building, the liquidity in the market is building, and then there's like a rush. So the idea is that, don't get me wrong, as I say, it's not like this is happening next week. I don't think it's going to happen next month either. But the idea is you want to position yourself well ahead of the curve. So again, you have that capital there to invest. You probably have it on some short-term securities. You can definitely see what's happening with the rates there, and you're just repositioning yourself for the future. Again, looking out a bit, so probably like a year or so.
So Tariq says, so basically lower interest rates lead to persons looking for alternatives to invest and get higher rates of return. The greater demand will drive up stock prices, so invest now.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get it. There's a comment for you in the chat, Leah. I'm going to let you look at that and respond privately to Roswell about your trading time. So just check on that for me, Leo. In the meantime, I'm going to talk to David. David, you are looking at ScotiaBank because Scotia is renewing its global insurance business, and they've appointed a Jamaican to do it, lead the global insurance business, not just Jamaica now. So tell us all about that. What's going on?
So ScotiaBank, not necessarily Jamaica, but ScotiaBank, is a global bank, based out of Toronto, Canada. They have operations in Canada, Bahamas, Mexico, Western Hemisphere. Just know Scotia is a dominant player in this sphere of the world. So they have asset management, wealth management, banking. Those are still their bread and butter. But insurance kind of took, a back seat for the last couple of years. So what do you mean by that? So Scotia would have been, divesting some of its insurance businesses out of the region. For example, Grayscale Limited or a Jamaican company would have acquired 2 Scotia Eastern Caribbean businesses, and that was within the last 2-3 years. The Scotiabank itself in Canada, divested an insurance, taken an associate stake in an insurance company in Thailand, and just around 2018, at the time that Sagicor Financial Company was set to acquire Scotia Life Insurance Jamaica and Scotia Life Trinidad and Tobago, and those didn't play out, but it is to show you that insurance is basically taking a backseat, out the door kind of perspective. So now to see that they're pushing back towards that space of insurance, it does bode well, because truth of the matter is, any financial group that can effectively, optimize and take advantage of bank assurance, they truly get the best of both worlds. So when you hear the word bank assurance, it's combining the opportunities and returns of banking and insurance. So for example, you come to get a mortgage, you go to my general insurance company. You need to get a life insurance product assigned to that mortgage or a particular loan, you go to my life insurance company. And they basically feed hand in hand. So for example, some persons might take out a Scotia loan, or they might take out a credit card. You might have the option to insure some of that balance. That balance, or the premiums you pay in an interim period, go to Scotia Life Insurance. So once you're able to actually capture that kind of synergy, it works out perfectly. So right now, with them appointing Anya to that role of global insurance head, it does kind of speak to them taking insurance a little more seriously compared to the prior years. And this is under a new CEO named Scott Thompson, long-time Scotia board member, who was actually, trying to shift and transform the business again in this 4-pillar strategy. And one of these pillars effectively now is insurance.
Interesting. Very interesting. So Anya is gonna be based out of where now? So she's leaving her Jamaica base. She's gonna be in what, Canada?
Anya has not really been in Jamaica for some time. So to put it into context, from about 2017, when Anya was promoted to her higher international role, she's been based out of Canada since that time. So, she would have been the managing director of Scotiabank Trinidad and Tobago for about 4 years, 2016. And in 2017, she got a promotion. She's really been in Canada all this time. So it's not like she's really going to a different location. It's just that, she's going to be having a different focus now. So still going to be based out of Toronto, Canada, but just to a different focus. And Jabbar Singh, who is the head of Scotiabank Colombia, he'll be taking on her responsibilities that were under her prior appointment. So Anya is the head of, international banking with respect to Central America, Caribbean, and Uruguay. So that portfolio is going to fall under Jabbar Singh's portfolio right now. And we're seeing a little bit more executive changes heading into Scotiabank's new financial year. And the reason I point out this change, towards focusing more on insurance is, we should remember, Scotia Group Jamaica would have launched its general insurance agency less than 2 years ago, building up further steam. We would have seen Scotiabank, introduce Solace and under the life insurance product in Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago. So to see, Scotia putting more emphasis on insurance, let us see what other products they're going to bring to market, because while they're one of the bigger players like a Sagicor Life here in Jamaica or Guardian Life, which is a similar case in Trinidad and Tobago as well, they still do run a profitable business that does well between pensions and insurance as well. So let us see how it all plays out.
It is an interesting pivot, because I don't typically think of Scotia when I think of insurance. I know they offer insurance, but it's not the first thing that comes to mind when I think insurance. Like you mentioned, Sagicor, Guardian Life are the names that may come to mind immediately. When I hear Scotia, I immediately think banking, even though I know they offer other financial services. So why do you think they're making this, I don't want to call it a pivot, but doubling down on that particular sector now?
Different leadership. That's the best way I can assess it, because the previous Scotiabank CEO, Brian Porto, had retired, at the start of last year, in February 2023, and it was under his leadership, where they were taking that back step on insurance and divesting their interests, in those insurance businesses. So with Scott Thompson now leading the way, he, alongside, other executives like Francisco in Canada as well, that's the CFO of Scotiabank, they're looking more so at opportunities that do present themselves from insurance, because as it currently stands, insurance as a whole only represents about 2% of Scotiabank's overall revenue base across the globe. So it's a very minuscule part of their overall pie. So if they're even good at even 10%, you don't know what else can be spun off or other opportunities can be derived from taking on that greater growth strategy in turn. Because realistically speaking, while it might be a smaller player in the markets where they do have an insurance presence in the interim, the opportunity does arise whereby Scotia could easily look to acquire particular players in other markets or Spanish-speaking markets like Mexico, Colombia, and so forth. Because as it currently stands, the English-speaking Caribbean is the most profitable segment in terms of banking with respect to the Caribbean and Central American region for Scotiabank. DOMREP is a force on its own, about 10% of that segment's revenue and profitability, and you have Central America representing less than 15%. So English-speaking Caribbean still has a very large scope and range for Scotiabank, and this is considering the fact that Scotiabank could have divested several Eastern Caribbean subsidiaries. In 2019, they sold Belize. In 2020, and they're trying to sell Guyana. Not sure they might try again, but it's a very different, vision and focus on the Thompson right now. And let's see, how that's translated here in Jamaica, because when Canada sets the tone or direction, Jamaica follows it as well.
Interesting. So for our viewers, guys, take your positions. What do you think the future of the insurance industry is? Do you think this is a good play for Scotia? Insurance costs are going up, underwriting costs are going up. So what do you think? Is Scotia positioned or poised to be the next major global insurance player?
Just one point to that, Kalila. So when you talk about insurance, there are two distinct segments. So you have general insurance. So if you want to keep it simple, Guardian General, they're a general insurance company. So that's your motor, your property, your fire, your marine, those kind of insurance products. When you talk about life insurance, that's your health insurance, life insurance, annuity products, pension management. So traditionally, and for obvious reasons, life insurance is the more profitable segment of the insurance business. General insurance is a very lucrative space, but can be quite costly. So whichever direction they do take to grow insurance should be interesting, because if it's a case where they're going to grow it in life insurance, that could be very interesting. Because when you think about it, Kalila, life insurance, biggest income earner for Sagicor Life Jamaica. Guardian Life Limited here in Jamaica represents 55% of the overall Guardian Holdings operating profit across the region. So if Scotia does take a focus more toward life insurance, you're definitely going to see a significant bump in overall revenue and profitability. And we shouldn't forget that Sagicor Financial Company, it was acquired a Canadian business called Ivari within the last year. So insurance is still, in particular life insurance, still a very lucrative space for many businesses.
Big money in insurance, guys. Can Scotia take a bigger bite out of that industry? Thank you so much, David. Thank you, Leo. By the way, Roswell, Leo said that he's going to look into that issue for you and see, if what can be done. So thanks, David. Thanks, Leo. And for this evening, we'll take our final break. When we come back, there's something I want to get off my chest. So stay tuned.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analyst, was brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
Premium experience is really the best that Money Mission has to offer. Not only do you get to connect with all our money makers and benefit from live mentorship with me, you also get access to all our premium courses, including all the upcoming courses and updates at no additional cost. I'm talking our best-selling Investing for Beginners, Build Your Budget, Debt Do-Over, Money Marketing, and Small Business Systems. After a year in premium, you'll be set on your journey to wealth. You'll have your annual budget done, a plan to pay off your debt done, your first investments done, and if you have a business or are ready to start one, you'll have all your systems in place and a proper marketing plan done. All of that for one low cost. If you were to buy all of these courses separately, plus pay for the basic membership, you'd be paying nearly $5,000 US. But I'm giving it to you for one low annual fee. So, are you ready to accept the mission? Click the button below to get started. Welcome back. So we are about to wrap this week's show, but first, okay, I have a bone to pick with the 131 of you online right now. And last week at this time, we had just about 200 people on. And I made an appeal for you to support the Patreon. I said, okay, we're not going to charge for taking stock. We're going to make it voluntary and we'll do the Patreon. And only 7 of you responded. 7. And I'm going to be quite honest. I had a tough week this week facing the reality that this is not going to be enough to continue to sustain the show. We're approaching our 5-year anniversary on October 29th. And is this going to be the end of taking stock? I don't know, because we need a lot more people to financially support while we get through this transition period, while we get through this difficult period. And 7 donations is not going to do it. So I'm going to urge you right now to go over to patreon.com/KalilaRay. And I'm serious. If you want to see this show continue, somebody's got to pay for it. It doesn't come free. It doesn't come easy. It comes with a lot of effort. I feel very sad when I think about the possibility of perhaps, ending the show and moving on to something else and putting all my efforts elsewhere in things that do indeed bring in income. I know how special and important it is to all of you who have been with us for the past 5 years. But it also makes me, feel away. I feel away, like Spice says, to think that we've been serving you for free for 5 years. And then I come on here and ask you for $5 after 5 years, and you think hard to give it. Like, wow, what have I been doing with my life since 2019 for the past 5 years? Thinking I'm making a difference, thinking I'm doing some good, and you won't give me $5 in exchange for all of that. So that's why I say I have a bone to pick with you. It's either you want it or you don't want it. And if you do want it, there has to come a point when you are willing to contribute to it to make it happen. So this is a moment of honesty for me and a moment of reflection as well. It's not easy for me to come on here and ask for money. It's not easy in general, because that's just not me. You can ask my husband. It takes a lot out of me to ask for money or to ask for any kind of support, because I've been independent. I've always believed in pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, finding a way to make it work. But as a last resort, I'm on here asking you to go to patreon.com/KalilaRay and support the show. And the reality is that if it does not happen, there may come a time in the near future where I'm going to have to make the decision to discontinue taking stock the same way that we did with the bottom line a couple of months ago. So if you're serious and you say you support the show, then put your money where your mouth there. A song of Lisa Hyper. Put your money where your mouth there, baby. Why you pay that light bill there, phone bill there, that water bill there. Put your money where your mouth is. Go to patreon.com/KalilaRay. Let me see. A couple questions here. Marlene wanted to know, can we donate during the show? I want an easy option. Yeah, you can. The link is in the description of the show. Unfortunately, we can't do super chat here on YouTube. Super chat is not available in Jamaica, so that's not an option. But while you're watching the show, you can click the link. It's right there in the description. Go over to Patreon and make your donation, and then it's going to be a recurring donation. Let me see what else we have. Wendy wants to know, how else can we support you? Well, the best way to support me right now is to give money. That's what we need. So I'm not sure what other options you are asking for. You're looking for in-kind donations. The best way right now is, to go to Patreon and make that donation. Roswell says she's going to look into it. Kemoy says he will support. Shell says better to give NCB account number. Why go through all of that, Shells, when you can just click a link and do it? Just click a link, go on Patreon, and make the donation rather than have to write down NCB account number, do the bank transfer. Not really the most efficient option right now. So what else do I want to say? Something else I wanted to say. Oh, yes. So our next free webinar is coming up on the 28th of October, which is week after next week. It's called The Real Cost of Debt. And during that webinar, I'm also going to be launching our newest updated course, which is Debt Do-Over. I'm very excited about this one. It is a very comprehensive course. The objective is to help you get out of debt. Those of you who are struggling with debt, those of you who want to start investing but you're held back by debt, these are the strategies that are going to help get you there faster. So pay it off a lot quicker than you ordinarily would have. It also teaches you how to use debt wisely. How do you use debt like wealthy people do? And that's the reason I didn't call it get debt free or anything, because I do believe that debt has a place and debt has a role to play in your wealth journey. Like Michael Lee Chin likes to say, OPM, use other people's money. So we're covering all of that in The Real Cost of Debt, which is the free webinar, and then look out for the launch of Debt Do-Over, which is the new course. Reminding you again that next week I am going to be in Atlanta. So I saw somebody mention earlier that they do want to do a link up. Where is that comment? Drop your email address, or you can email me. Send me an email, kalila@moneymediaja.com. If you're in the Atlanta area and you want to link up next week. I think we should do a little Money Makers, Money Mission meetup in Atlanta for those of you who are there. Drop your email in the chat or email me at kalila@moneymediaja.com. And let's see if we can organize a little get together while I'm in Atlanta. And because I'm going to be there, that means that we're pre-recording next week's episode of Taking Stock. Our guest is going to be Juicy Patties, who we've been trying to get on the show for a few months now. They finally agreed. So if you have questions for Juicy, drop them in the chat now, or you can send me an email and let me know what you want to hear from Juicy Beef, Juicy Patties. That's our show for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to our hardworking production team led by Sachelle Williams. Thank you to our guests, DRT Communications earlier on, Leovani Dillon and David Rose in the analyst segment. Thanks to you for watching and for making this show possible. See you again next week. Until then, let's get this money.
Let's get this money.